Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your Sun in Taurus and Scorpio rising. And some of you may know that Taurus and Scorpio are opposite signs. So the opposition is a hard angle that can indicate two extremes. However, um, opposite signs are also called complementary signs. And I do believe that they have elements within themselves that complement or complete the other sign. Their elements are compatible as well. You know, the sun in Taurus is earth, and then you have the water from the Scorpio. And sometimes they'll say things like water, you know, nourishes the earth or moistens the earth, and the earth can, I don't know what the earth does to water, now that I think about it. But anyway, they are part of the, what we call the physical dimension, right? And so I find that people who are earth and water signs, that they tend to be very good about things like finances and everything of a practical nature, although that's not entirely true because, you know, Pisces as a sign I would not call very practical, but in general I would say that that is true. And they're also feminine signs. But this has nothing to do with gender. This has to do with energy. And it has to do with having a very receptive or passive nature, which means that the person isn't always trying to make things happen. They can allow things to come to them. And so that rather than that aggression that's associated with outward ambition, this can be more like waiting for things to come to them, to be attracted to them, and it's a very interesting approach to life. It can lead to somebody who is introverted as well. And it's important to note that if you do identify, if you have this combination, you identify with being rather introverted, I would not say that that is necessarily being shy. Although it might be, you know, synonymous if you look online or something like that. I think of being introverted as somebody who has a rich inner world. So they don't need to kind of become stimulated by contact with other people. They say that extroverts get energized by contact with other people, and introverts get drained when they're, you know, by other people. And I think that's the perfect definition. But it says nothing about whether or not they're going to just like be a shrinking violet. Like if somebody comes near them, they're going to, you know, dissolve into a puddle just because somebody talks to them and it's a stranger. I don't think that's true. It's just like you prefer to do quiet things, and maybe if you are socializing, it's with a few people instead of a big, loud, noisy gathering or something like that. Okay, well, what we're looking at here, if we focus on the rising sign, we're talking about the cusp of the first house of the self, and this can talk about the way that the person looks. And I keep saying when I talk about Scorpio rising about the person might dress like goth or gothic kinds of clothing. And I don't mean that literally like, you know, whatever you would call that type of clothing. When I was in high school in the early 80s, it was like, you know, Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was like Halloween every day. I'm not talking about necessarily that. I know that there's different types of gothic clothing, but at least something that is black, something that kind of has that element of danger. Yeah, I never even thought about it, but even like leather, black leather jackets, and um, that make a person seem sinister or tough. Fishnet stockings for a woman, I would associate with it because it's a little bit risque. It's a little bit like the seductress. And this brings me to a very important point because here we have the sun in Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign. It's also, ruled by Venus. And then we have Scorpio rising. And this could definitely be a femme fatale, but one that is very calculated to, I think really want love, ultimately, unless the person is more on the materialistic side. And usually this will be a woman, but we're not going to just assume that 100% of the time. But women usually trade on their looks. And so if a Taurus woman decides that she wants to marry a rich man, because I don't think a same-sex relationship is going to fly like this. I don't think a woman is going to go for this, but I could be wrong. But usually it's the men who are very visual, and they want that kind of ego boost by having a hot woman at their side. There might be some Taurus women who are not as concerned about um, love because they're just really looking for that financial boost or that lifestyle that they can live in the lap of luxury. And people who are Taurus or Libra individuals, they tend to be physically attractive. Yes, the rising sign can be first and foremost for that, but even with the sun sign, I have found this as well. By the way, I have Taurus rising, so there you go. But Taurus, this is an interesting kind of a dichotomy, if you will, because Taurus is more overt in trying to appeal, uh, in terms of the sex appeal angle. Um, and that could include, just whatever it takes, whatever it takes to get there. And that, what I'm saying is, mini skirts, low cut, tight, whatever. With um, Scorpio, it's going to be more subdued, but there still can be a strong desire to seduce. And one of the reasons I think this is so true about Scorpio is because seduction isn't just about being attractive to someone. We could say that about Libra rising or even Taurus rising. And maybe in those cases, that person's looking for a relationship. But with Scorpio rising, it's all about power. And that's what, to me, seducing is all about. Um, it's not just about attracting to you, because Venus is the attractor, but the seduction is its own kind of a power play, if you will. Because the object of the seduction is under a spell, right? So they are in this position of being um, given some kind of stimulus that is making them totally submitting to the will of that individual. So a person who is with this combination, this may be used in order to feel in control of one's life. Now, the reason this may come into play is that when I see Scorpio in prominent positions like the sun, the moon, or the rising sign, I wonder if this person has undergone trauma, sometimes severe trauma. Of course, you're going to look at other things, and um, if these people have like an eighth house, where there are planets like Mars or Pluto, or just other things are going on that could indicate Pluto in the first house. These kind of things would be more indicative of that. And those are just a few examples. There could be other ones. Usually, I have found that this is the case, even though any sign can experience trauma. I mean, that goes without saying, but some take it to heart more than others. Luckily, Taurus is in the sun position, because even if the Scorpio rising indicates a past that has dealt with some kind of trauma, the person will, as they get older, likely strengthen and, kind of toughen up in a sense where they don't allow their emotions to get the best of them. But especially when you're younger, you may feel very guarded. So trust issues, dating may be very problematic, even though you want it desperately, because you feel like it's very treacherous. If somebody were to cheat on you, to, you know, leave you for somebody else, that would be devastating. And I would say some or most with this combination have a problem with jealousy as it is. And that's something that you're going to have to conquer if you want a healthy relationship, because this can lead to kind of ugly scenes. In some cases, the person may be so jealous that they get very disturbed if they think their partner is looking at somebody else. And by the way, they may, let's say it's a woman and she gets with a man who is very sexual, because that's what she's looking for. She may find that he's oversexed, and he's like always, when a woman walks by, he's always having to check her out to the nth degree, not just like very subtly, but he's like really like, it'd be better for him to take a picture because it lasts longer, that kind of thing. So that can be very upsetting to the partner, because she might feel like she doesn't measure up and things like that. So you might find that relationships are very hard to sustain, because you might have a tendency to be attracted to somebody that because of your own physical desires, and then it creates problems because the Scorpio part is much deeper than that and wants a very deep relationship. But it's when people tend to gravitate towards sex, and especially if they do it prematurely, they will likely not find the love part, because the people that they are engaging with are people that maybe are being very frivolous. They're not being very serious about relationship. They just want to have a good time, in other words. And so you have to really be clearer in your mind what you're looking for. And I don't think that this is the kind of combination that can really, as the kids like to say, hit it and quit it, where you're just having one night stand type of things. It isn't going to happen, because you're very loyal, you're dedicated. This is double fixed energy, and even if you have a strong physical desire in general, like that is very strong within yourself, a strong sex drive, you still, there's a part of you because of Scorpio rising that wants to transcend that. I think. And this is what some Scorpios have reported to me after my videos on here, that they can be celibate. And I believe that. I kind of revised my opinion on Scorpio because I have had those reports. And plus, I just thought about it and I realized that that is a simplistic take on Scorpio, thinking that they're these sex machines, when really Scorpio is a very profound sign when it's expressing itself at the highest level, and somebody at that level does not take sex frivolously, is not frivolous about sex, and would not just do things that casually. But you definitely have to get past this idea that people are possessions, because Taurus rules the second house, which can be money and possessions. And you can treat people that are important to you that way. And especially if you have a vested interest in a one-on-one relationship with them in an intimate level, it just may be something that makes you quite unhappy because you're afraid of losing it. The more that a person operates with the belief that there's nothing that anyone else can do to them that is going to change their sense of self, that they are, the more that you can feel confident in yourself, regardless of what other people are doing, the better off you're going to be. Anytime that you are worried about another person's actions, will they leave me, for instance, if those kinds of thoughts cross your mind, then you are disempowered. You are putting your power in the hands of the person that you're with. And I really think at a deeper level you resent that because you don't want to give away that power, but in a sense you have, because of your own deep fears. I've been with my partner for many, many years, and I've never even, that has never even like been a fear of mine related to him. And I'm not bragging about it. I have Taurus rising. So, I mean, possessiveness is something that I have dealt with in the past. I wouldn't say that's true for me now, but it was at one time. And this is one of those things that the rising sign, as you get older, you can grow more into your sun sign. But in your case, even though we could make the case that Scorpio can be quite possessive in their own way, you're going from the frying pan to the fire because you're becoming more of a Taurus, and that's not going to really improve matters. You have to sometimes transcend what these signs represent because it still is not your ultimate self. Your ultimate self is not a sun in Taurus. That is just based on this lifetime. So, in a sense, it's part of the matrix, anyhow. And we have to escape all of those influences ultimately. But just to be aware of it is very good, because if you have found that relationships have been fraught with a lot of drama, think about whether you're bringing it on yourself, not only because you might be choosing people that are not suitable for you and are more prone to cheating, are more prone to, creating the nightmare scenario that you claim you don't want, but also because you are about so much more. And if you hyper focus on relationships to the exclusion of the other things that you're very talented in. It can be something that you narrow your life to the point where you're playing quite small. So what are the other things that you might be into? Well, first of all, anybody who has water on the ascendant that's ruled by one of these planets, in your case, two planets, you're ruled by um, Mars and Pluto, but just the water energy in these prominent points means that you very likely are naturally intuitive. And so, any kind of profession where you are a healer is a natural as well as an artist. But in particular, Scorpio as a sign is the natural psychologist. When somebody has Scorpio rising, they may have very piercing eyes that look through someone, and other people may feel uncomfortable in your presence because of that, because they think that you're exposing them just by looking at them. And really, you're such a natural um, person to know what makes people tick. That can be something that you're just very talented in doing. And when that happens, it means that you're able to read people, also read a room. You're able to, kind of sense the energy in a room. But in reading people, this can help in so many different ways. It can help you in discernment in relationships. Is this person really right for me? In job situations, or if you are, like, if you own a business and you have to, you're taking on clients, and sometimes if they're whack jobs, you'll be able to tell ahead of time, hopefully, and things like that. The Taurus energy, but even the Scorpio, I would say, both of these signs rule money houses. Taurus is the second house of earned income, Scorpio's shared resources. So I would say both of these signs are savvy with money and may be able to attract it, earn it, manage it in a very good way, and maybe even have a profession that's associated with it. I even think something with food with Taurus could be indicated here, and maybe in some cases it would be like more of a natural diet, where the Scorpio with the Pluto energy, is about cleansing, detox, things like that. When you find the person that you're meant to be with, it can last a lifetime without even thinking about it, because this is double fixed energy. One thing to really keep in mind is that, yes, sometimes somebody like this might get in a rut where they just are adverse to change. They don't like to change. And even with relationships, if they are messed up, you might be still trying to make it work. And of course, when people do that excessively, they might just stay with a bad relationship versus risk the unknown, or if they think that they're too old to have another person fall in love with them, they might fear that, and they're just going after their own security and being in their safe, what do they call it, like comfort zone, where the familiar is very reassuring. But even though that can happen, if you are able to really find the person that you resonate with on multiple levels. You have the ability to um, stick it out if there are some periods of time where it's rough or what have you, because even if people get along basically, that they basically get along, each person is an individual, and sometimes they're going through their own challenges, maybe at work, maybe with other personal problems, and they are suffering themselves, not necessarily because of the relationship, but it does affect the relationship regardless. So, in any case, um, I think I'm going to leave it there. And I hope that this resonated for you. If you would like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.